The room buzzed with a quiet energy, the kind that only forms when highly trained military personnel gather together. Every face carried a mixture of focus, nervousness, and pride. It was a typical briefing room in a Navy base, sterile yet filled with an unspoken intensity that could be felt in the air. Posters of past missions and the faces of decorated officers lined the walls, silently reminding everyone that the stakes here were higher than in most other places. The sunlight filtered in through narrow windows, casting long, sharp shadows on the floors, giving the room a slightly dramatic edge, almost like the beginning of a story that no one could yet predict. Among the crowd, a seasoned Navy SEAL walked in. He moved with the quiet confidence of someone who had seen it all: danger, missions that pushed the limits of human endurance, and battles that most could only imagine in nightmares. His boots clicked softly against the floor, and heads turned subtly, noticing the calm authority he carried without even trying. The SEAL had earned respect over years of service, and his reputation preceded him wherever he went. But today, like most days, he was just another professional among peers, observing and assessing. His eyes scanned the room, taking in the mixture of new recruits, officers, and support staff. Among them, he noticed a young woman sitting quietly near the back. She wasn't flashy, didn't have a commanding presence that demanded attention immediately, and her uniform was neat but unremarkable. At first glance, she seemed like a regular officer or perhaps a junior recruit, blending in with the crowd. There was nothing in her posture or expression that suggested she would stand out in a group of elite military personnel. She had a calm demeanor, almost serene, and her eyes showed a spark of curiosity rather than defiance or arrogance. The SEAL, feeling playful and slightly bored, decided to break the silence with a bit of humor. With a half-smile, he leaned forward slightly and asked, "So, what's your rank?" His tone carried the lightness of a joke, expecting a casual answer, perhaps lieutenant or ensign. To him, it was an easy, almost teasing question, a small ripple in the otherwise serious atmosphere of the briefing room. The question seemed innocent, almost trivial, yet it sent an unexpected ripple through the room. People who were quietly listening paused, glancing subtly at the young woman, curious about her response. For a moment, there was silence, a strange tension that filled the space. The SEAL, confident as ever, didn't notice it at first. He assumed she would smile, answer politely, and life would continue as normal. But she didn't respond immediately. Instead, she looked at him calmly, without the slightest hint of nervousness. There was no hesitation, no falter in her gaze, just quiet confidence. Something about the way she held herself suggested she wasn't just any officer, and that she might have something unexpected up her sleeve. The SEAL, used to reading people, felt a tiny flicker of curiosity. Who exactly was she, and why did she carry herself with such steady composure? Then, she slowly rolled up her sleeve, revealing the insignia on her uniform. It was a small, subtle action, but it carried enormous weight. The room seemed to hold its breath. Everyone's eyes followed her, noticing for the first time that her rank was far higher than anyone had guessed. The insignia spoke of experience, authority, and a career built on dedication and skill. A rank that even the seasoned SEAL had to respect. The SEAL, who had walked in joking and confident, suddenly felt a shift in the atmosphere. The playful smirk on his face faded into surprise and, if he admitted it, a hint of humility. He realized that he had made a quick assumption based on appearance alone, a mistake he wasn't used to making. In an instant, the young woman had flipped the expectations in the room, showing that real strength and authority often come quietly, without loud announcements or aggressive posturing. For everyone else in the room, the moment was equally eye-opening. They had all been watching, some with curiosity, some with mild skepticism. Now, they were witnessing a subtle but powerful lesson. Never underestimate someone based on looks, gender, or perceived experience. The young woman's calm confidence, combined with her unassuming way of revealing her rank, made it clear that she had earned respect long before this moment, through actions and dedication that weren't immediately visible. The SEAL straightened up, a newfound respect in his eyes. He realized that this wasn't just a playful joke anymore. It was a lesson he would remember. The young woman had turned a simple question into a defining moment, showing everyone present that real authority isn't about who speaks the loudest or who appears strongest. It's about presence, skill, and quiet confidence that commands attention without demanding it. By the end of that first encounter, the room's energy had subtly shifted. Where there had been casual curiosity and playful banter, now there was respect and awareness. The seal, seasoned as he was, had been reminded that leadership and capability can come from the most unexpected places. And the young woman, with her calm demeanor and rolled-up sleeve, had quietly but unmistakably made her mark. The room had fallen into a curious silence after her sleeve was rolled up. It was the kind of quiet that made every small movement feel amplified. The shuffle of boots on the floor, the faint hum of the air conditioning, even the seal's own breath seemed louder than usual. What had started as a playful, almost teasing moment had transformed into something much bigger. The simple act of revealing her rank had done more than just answer a question. It had commanded attention, changed the energy in the room, and shifted the balance of assumptions that everyone had carried until that moment. The Navy SEAL, who had moments before been joking and relaxed, now found himself caught off guard. His smirk had vanished, replaced by a flicker of surprise. He had expected a modest rank, perhaps someone he could casually tease or underestimate. But now, confronted with the insignia, he realized that he had misjudged the situation entirely. This woman was far more experienced than he had assumed. She had worked her way through the ranks, proving herself in ways that were invisible to most casual observers. The SEAL, despite years of missions and battles under his belt, felt a sudden pang of humility. The other people in the room were equally affected. New recruits whispered quietly to each other, unable to hide their astonishment. Some officers exchanged subtle nods, silently acknowledging her credentials. Even those who tried to maintain composure found themselves glancing at her more than once, recognizing that she held authority and experience that few had expected. It was clear that she was someone who had earned respect not through loud proclamations or forceful gestures, but through competence, dedication, and consistent excellence over time. She did not speak immediately, letting the moment settle. Her calmness was striking. She seemed perfectly aware of the effect she had created, yet she did not exploit it for attention or superiority. There was no arrogance in her demeanor, only quiet confidence. That quiet confidence carried a subtle but undeniable message. She was not here to impress anyone, nor to compete for recognition. She was here to do her job, and she did it exceptionally well. That realization hit the SEAL harder than any joke could. As she lowered her sleeve, the insignia on her arm glinted under the overhead lights, a silent testament to her accomplishments. It was the symbol of someone who had faced challenges head-on, someone who had proven herself time and again in environments where failure was not an option. To the SEAL, who was accustomed to dealing with high-stakes situations, it was immediately clear that she had endured trials that few could even imagine. Yet, she wore her authority lightly, without need for fanfare or dramatics. The SEAL's playful tone had disappeared, replaced by a thoughtful, almost reflective silence. He began to consider how easily assumptions could be misleading. He had walked in expecting a casual conversation, a moment of levity, and instead he had encountered someone whose presence alone demanded respect. The irony was not lost on him. A joke meant to tease had backfired in the most enlightening way. At that moment he noticed something else, the way she held herself. Every movement was deliberate, controlled, yet natural. She exuded discipline and professionalism without appearing rigid. Her eyes met his with a steady gaze, unshaken by the surprise she had caused. That gaze communicated more than words ever could. It said, "I am confident in my abilities, and I don't need to prove myself to anyone here." The SEAL, who had navigated countless high-pressure situations, understood immediately that this was not someone to underestimate. The whispers in the room grew slightly louder, but she paid them no mind. Her focus was sharp, her demeanor unshaken. It was as if the moment had been expected all along, and revealing her rank was simply a formality, a step in a much larger story that no one present yet fully understood. The seal, observing quietly, began to feel a growing sense of respect and even admiration. It was rare to encounter someone who combined skill, authority, and calm composure in such a seamless way. For the new recruits, the scene was even more powerful. Many of them had preconceived ideas about who would lead, who would take charge, and who would be worth following. They were learning an immediate and invaluable lesson. Appearances could be deceiving, and true leadership often revealed itself in subtle, quiet ways rather than loud or flashy actions. The young woman had, in a single motion, demonstrated the importance of humility, competence, and presence. The seal finally spoke, his voice low and respectful, acknowledging her rank and the respect it demanded. There was no trace of the playful tone from before. It had been replaced by a recognition of her authority. He realized that this encounter was a turning point, not just for him but for everyone in the room. What had started as a joke had transformed into a profound lesson about perception, respect, and the true meaning of rank. By the time the moment passed, the atmosphere in the room had shifted completely. The seal, seasoned and confident as he was, now approached the rest of the briefing with a new mindset. He understood that assumptions could be dangerous, and that true leadership was revealed not by words, but by actions, demeanor, and quiet authority. The young woman, calm and composed, had made an unforgettable impression, teaching everyone present that sometimes the most powerful moments come from the simplest gestures. A rolled-up sleeve, a steady gaze, and the quiet command of earned respect. The room was still filled with a quiet buzz of curiosity, but now the focus had shifted completely. All eyes were on her, the young woman who had so effortlessly transformed the atmosphere with a single gesture. It wasn't just the insignia that had drawn attention, it was the story behind it. Everyone present, from the newest recruit to the seasoned Navy SEAL, suddenly realized that this was not someone to underestimate. She was someone who had earned her rank through years of dedication, skill, and experience that no casual glance could ever reveal. As she straightened her uniform and adjusted her posture, the subtle weight of authority radiated from her presence. It was the kind of authority that didn't need to be announced loudly. It simply existed in the way she carried herself, in the calm confidence of her eyes, and in the quiet assurance that she knew exactly what she was doing. She wasn't trying to prove anything. Her achievements had already spoken for themselves. The SEAL, who had entered the room with a playful smirk, now understood that he was in the presence of someone extraordinary, someone whose career had been built on real-life challenges and successes that most could only imagine. She had joined the Navy at a young age, motivated not by fame or recognition but by a desire to serve and excel. Her early years were marked by intense training, long hours, and relentless discipline. Every mission she had undertaken, every test of endurance she had faced, had prepared her for moments like this, moments where composure and competence were the only currency that mattered. She had spent years proving herself in ways that were invisible to most people, quietly earning respect from peers and superiors alike. Her rank was more than just a title. It was a symbol of the countless missions, challenges, and responsibilities she had handled with precision and professionalism. The SEAL, who was observing her closely, couldn't help but reflect on the irony of the moment. A question meant as a joke had revealed more than any formal introduction could have. It was a reminder that assumptions based on appearances could be dangerously misleading. Here was a woman who seemed ordinary at first glance, but in reality, she carried a wealth of experience and authority that few could match. The lesson was clear. True skill and leadership often remain hidden until the right moment reveals them. Others in the room began to whisper among themselves, sharing their own realizations. Some recalled seeing her in previous missions or training exercises, remembering moments when her decisions had turned potentially disastrous situations into successes. They now understood why she had earned her rank, and why the SEAL had been caught off guard. It wasn't just her title. It was the expertise and judgment behind it that commanded respect. Her reputation had quietly preceded her, but most people had never paid enough attention to recognize it until this moment. Her calm demeanor was perhaps the most striking aspect of all. She didn't boast, she didn't flaunt her achievements, and she didn't let the attention distract her. Instead, She maintained a sense of quiet control, demonstrating that true authority doesn't require loud declarations or dramatic gestures. It's in the way a person handles themselves under pressure, the confidence they carry, and the subtle yet undeniable presence they project. Every small movement, every glance, every gesture she made reinforced the idea that she was someone who could be trusted to lead, guide, and make decisions in critical situations. The SEAL, who had experienced some of the most dangerous missions in the world, felt a deep sense of respect building within him. He had encountered many skilled professionals throughout his career, but few had the combination of expertise, composure, and humility that she displayed so naturally. He realized that this encounter was more than just a moment of surprise. It was a lesson in leadership, respect, and perception. He had been reminded that authority is earned through action, not appearance, and that true competence often reveals itself quietly, in moments that require focus and integrity. As the initial surprise faded, the room settled into a new rhythm. People began to pay closer attention to her, not out of curiosity, but out of genuine respect. The young woman, aware of the impact of her actions, continued to engage with the team confidently, answering questions and providing guidance without hesitation. Her insights were precise, her knowledge extensive, and her decisions measured, reflecting the depth of experience that her rank represented. The SEAL observed all of this with admiration, realizing that he had been given a rare opportunity to witness leadership at its finest. The moment also served as a quiet lesson for everyone present. Assumptions, casual jokes, and first impressions can never replace experience, competence, and dedication. The young woman had shown that leadership is not about who speaks the loudest or appears strongest. It's about the ability to act decisively, maintain composure, and inspire confidence through skill and presence. Every person in that room, from the newest recruit to the most seasoned officer, had learned something invaluable that day, lessons that would stay with them long after the briefing had ended. By the end of this part of the encounter, it was clear that the young woman had achieved something remarkable. She had not only revealed her rank but also reminded everyone of the true meaning of authority and respect. The SEAL, humbled and impressed, adjusted his own expectations and mindset, understanding that there is always more to a person than meets the eye. And for the young woman, the moment passed as effortlessly as it had arrived, her calm confidence serving as a quiet but unforgettable reminder of what real leadership looks like. After the surprising reveal of her rank, the atmosphere in the room shifted dramatically. What had started as light-hearted curiosity now became a genuine appreciation for her skills and authority. Everyone, including the seasoned Navy SEAL who had initially joked, began to observe her more closely. They saw her not just as another officer, but as a leader whose competence demanded attention and respect. It became clear that her experience was not only significant but practical. She knew how to lead, make decisions, and inspire confidence in everyone around her. Throughout the day, her abilities became increasingly apparent. The SEAL watched quietly as she moved through various drills and exercises, guiding teams, analyzing situations, and providing precise instructions. She didn't raise her voice unnecessarily, nor did she insist on dominating the room with her presence. Instead, she led with calm authority, explaining strategies clearly and demonstrating her expertise through action rather than words. Her decisions were measured, always considering the safety and efficiency of the team. Even the smallest adjustments she suggested carried weight, because it was obvious she had earned them through experience. Colleagues who had previously underestimated her began to notice her unique style of leadership. While some officers were forceful, loud, or overly confident, she maintained a composed, quiet demeanor. Yet, every instruction she gave was precise, logical, and effective. The new recruits, in particular, were struck by the contrast. Many had expected authority to look a certain way, commanding voices, aggressive gestures, and an air of dominance. Instead, they saw someone whose strength came from clarity, knowledge, and calm confidence. It was a lesson in itself. Leadership isn't about being the loudest in the room. It's about guiding others with skill and composure. The SEAL, observing from a short distance, felt both admiration and humility. Despite his years of experience, he realized that he had never encountered someone who led with such a quiet yet undeniable authority. He began to see her in a new light, not just as a peer, but as someone who could teach him important lessons about leadership and teamwork. Every move she made, every word she spoke, demonstrated a combination of tactical knowledge and emotional intelligence that few could match. The SEAL understood that this was not about rank alone. It was about presence, competence, and the ability to earn respect naturally. Her approach during the exercises was methodical yet flexible. She assessed each situation carefully, listening to input from team members before making decisions. When mistakes were made, she corrected them with patience and guidance rather than reprimand. This earned her the loyalty and trust of everyone around her. Even the most skeptical team members began to follow her instructions without hesitation, recognizing that her strategies consistently led to success. It was clear that her leadership style combined discipline with empathy, a rare combination that made her incredibly effective. As the day progressed, it became obvious that her influence extended beyond simple commands. She inspired confidence, encouraged teamwork, and fostered an environment where people wanted to perform their best. Her calm presence reduced tension during high-pressure drills, and her strategic thinking helped teams navigate complex scenarios with clarity. The SEAL, who was used to fast-paced, high-stress operations, recognized that these were not just drills. They were real demonstrations of her skill in leadership and crisis management. One moment stood out particularly. During a simulated mission exercise, a team faced a critical obstacle. Tensions were high, and uncertainty began to creep in. The SEAL expected hesitation or confusion, but she stepped in with measured instructions, analyzing the situation quickly and guiding the team efficiently through the challenge. Her focus was unwavering, and she communicated in a way that gave each team member a clear role and purpose. Within minutes, the team executed the mission flawlessly. The SEAL couldn't help but be impressed. Her presence had turned potential chaos into precise execution. Her colleagues began to quietly acknowledge what the SEAL had realized earlier. She was a natural leader, someone whose authority came from genuine expertise and experience. Respect for her grew not through intimidation, but through observation and proof. Her ability to remain composed under pressure, to make smart decisions, and to guide others with clarity was nothing short of remarkable. Everyone in the room began to internalize the same lesson the SEAL had learned. True leadership is not about appearances or assumptions, but about action, competence, and the ability to inspire confidence in others. By the end of the day, her influence was unmistakable. The SEAL, along with everyone else in the room, had gained a new appreciation for her skills and her approach to leadership. She had demonstrated that respect is earned, not assumed, and that the quiet confidence of someone who knows their abilities can have a far greater impact than any display of authority or bravado. The young woman, calm and unassuming, had transformed the perception of the room. What began as a moment of light-hearted curiosity had grown into a profound recognition of skill, dedication, and true leadership. The lesson was clear to everyone. Appearances can be deceiving, jokes can backfire, and authority is measured not by words or gestures, but by actions and the respect they earn. The SEAL, now fully aware of her capabilities, quietly resolved to follow her example and learn from her approach. The young woman had not only revealed her rank that day, she had revealed the essence of what it truly meant to lead, inspire, and earn the respect of those around her. As the day progressed, the SEAL realized that the young woman's impact extended far beyond just leading exercises or managing teams. There was a quiet depth to her knowledge, a subtle mastery of strategy and tactics that went unnoticed by many at first glance. He watched as she analyzed situations with precision, breaking down complex scenarios into manageable steps and anticipating problems before they even arose. Her calm demeanor wasn't just a personality trait. It was the result of years of experience, training, and the discipline required to handle high-pressure situations. Later in the day, the SEAL approached her privately. He had learned an important lesson earlier. Never judge someone by appearances alone. He wanted to understand how she thought, how she remained so composed, and how she had developed such a natural command over situations that were challenging for even the most seasoned officers. As they walked together through the corridors of the base, he asked her about her approach to leadership and problem-solving. She spoke with clarity and insight, not boasting about her accomplishments but sharing the wisdom she had gained from experience. She explained that leadership was less about giving orders and more about understanding people, situations, and outcomes. A true leader needed to observe carefully, anticipate challenges, and make decisions that balanced efficiency with the well-being of the team. She emphasized that remaining calm under pressure was not innate. It was trained, practiced, and reinforced through real-world experiences. Her calmness was a tool, one that allowed her to assess situations objectively and guide others effectively without creating panic or confusion. The SEAL listened intently, realizing that these lessons were valuable not just in training or missions but in every aspect of leadership and teamwork. He reflected on his own experiences, thinking of the moments when assumptions or impulsive decisions had complicated situations unnecessarily. He recognized that her approach, calm, methodical, and observant, was something he could learn from. It wasn't just about tactics or physical strength. It was about understanding human behavior, timing, and strategy. She continued, describing moments from her career when small, calculated decisions had made a huge difference in mission outcomes. She spoke of times when quick thinking, clear communication, and steady leadership had saved lives or prevented critical errors. Her examples weren't meant to impress or intimidate. They were lessons distilled from real experiences. Each story highlighted the importance of preparation, patience, and confidence, showing the SEAL that effective leadership was as much about mental and emotional control as it was about skill and training. The SEAL found himself inspired. Here was someone who had endured countless challenges, faced dangers he could only imagine, and yet remained approachable, calm, and focused. He realized that leadership was not just about rank, titles, or physical capability. It was about presence, judgment, and the ability to influence others positively. The young woman had a rare ability to inspire trust and confidence in those around her, not through fear or dominance, but through competence, clarity, and calm authority. During their conversation, the SEAL asked her about the moments when things had gone wrong, when missions had been difficult or outcomes uncertain. She spoke honestly, describing challenges, mistakes, and the lessons she had learned from them. She emphasized that failure wasn't something to be feared. It was an opportunity to learn and improve. The SEAL nodded, realizing that her attitude toward mistakes was a defining part of her leadership. She didn't criticize others harshly. She used challenges as teaching moments, reinforcing trust and teamwork. As they continued walking, the SEAL began to see her not just as a remarkable officer but as a mentor. Her insights and explanations gave him new perspectives on leadership, communication, and strategic thinking. It was clear that she had refined her approach over years of real-world experience, and now she was sharing that knowledge in a way that could influence even someone as experienced as him. He felt a quiet admiration, realizing that the best leaders were often those who could guide others without making it about themselves. By the end of their conversation, the SEAL had learned something valuable. True leadership required patience, observation, and the ability to see beyond immediate appearances. The young woman had shown him that authority and respect were earned through competence and consistency, not through loud gestures or attempts to impress. Her calm demeanor, strategic thinking, and willingness to mentor others were traits that made her stand out, even among highly trained professionals. Throughout the rest of the day, the SEAL noticed subtle changes in the team's dynamics as well. Team members who had initially been hesitant to follow her were now engaged, motivated, and attentive. Her mentorship style encouraged participation, collaboration, and confidence, creating an environment where everyone could perform at their best. The SEAL observed with quiet admiration, realizing that her influence extended far beyond the tactical exercises. They were learning lessons in professionalism, composure, and respect that would stay with them long after the day ended. By the evening, it was clear that the SEAL had undergone a personal transformation as well. His initial assumptions had been challenged, his understanding of leadership deepened, and his respect for the young woman had grown immensely. What began as a private conversation had become a turning point in his perspective, reminding him that experience, wisdom, and calm confidence often speak louder than words or gestures. The young woman had not only demonstrated her rank, but had revealed the qualities that truly define an exceptional leader: insight, patience, competence, and the ability to teach others without arrogance. Later that day, an unexpected situation arose that would test the young woman's leadership in a very real way. A simulated high-pressure mission was suddenly introduced, one designed to challenge even the most experienced officers. The team had to navigate a complex scenario under time constraints, making decisions that required precision, coordination, and calm thinking. The SEAL, who had seen countless real-life missions, knew that this exercise would reveal not only skill but also leadership under pressure. The moment the mission briefing began, tension filled the room. Everyone knew the stakes were high. Recruits and officers alike felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on them, and even the SEAL could sense the anticipation in the air. It was in moments like these that true leaders reveal themselves, and all eyes naturally turned to the young woman. She had already demonstrated her expertise in earlier drills, but now the challenge was far greater. It would test not just knowledge, but poise, strategy, and the ability to guide a team through uncertainty. She immediately assessed the situation, her calmness contrasting sharply with the nervous energy of some team members. She didn't rush to make decisions or issue orders blindly. Instead, she observed, analyzed, and began to assign roles based on the strengths of each person on the team. Her instructions were clear and concise, leaving no room for confusion. The SEAL noticed that her presence alone seemed to steady the nerves of those around her. Even recruits who had been unsure of themselves began to focus, trust her judgment, and perform their tasks with confidence. As the exercise progressed, unexpected obstacles arose. Communication lines faltered, simulated threats emerged, and time became a critical factor. Many would have panicked or made rushed decisions in such a situation. Not her. She remained steady, moving between team members with purpose, calmly correcting mistakes and adjusting plans as new challenges appeared. Her ability to stay composed under pressure had a ripple effect. Everyone else became calmer and more effective because of her influence. The SEAL watched in awe, realizing that her earlier calm demeanor was not just a personality trait, but a critical tool in leadership. There were moments when split-second decisions were needed, and she handled them with remarkable clarity. She didn't hesitate or second-guess herself. Her experience allowed her to anticipate potential problems and act proactively. When a critical obstacle threatened to slow down the mission, she quickly evaluated the options and directed the team in a solution that was both safe and efficient. The SEAL noted that her decisiveness didn't feel rushed or forced. It was calculated, informed by experience, and executed with confidence. Her strategic thinking became even more evident as the team encountered the most challenging part of the mission. A simulated scenario required coordinated action under extreme time pressure. Some team members began to feel the stress, but she maintained a calm presence, breaking down the task step by step. She encouraged communication, ensured everyone knew their responsibilities, and guided the team with precise instructions. By delegating effectively and using each person's strengths, she turned a potentially chaotic situation into a smoothly executed plan. The SEAL, who had been part of high-risk operations, was deeply impressed. He recognized that leadership was not just about giving commands. It was about influencing the team's mindset, anticipating challenges, and maintaining composure when everything seemed to be falling apart. The young woman had mastered this, and her ability to turn stress into focused action highlighted the depth of her experience. The SEAL, who had once underestimated her, now saw her as a peer and a mentor, someone whose judgment he could trust completely. By the end of the exercise, the team had completed the mission flawlessly. Everyone felt a sense of accomplishment, but more importantly, they had gained confidence in their abilities and in her leadership. The SEAL observed quietly as team members thanked her and reflected on how her guidance had made all the difference. She didn't seek recognition. Her focus remained on the team's success rather than her own. That humility, combined with competence, made her presence even more commanding. The exercise also reinforced an important lesson for everyone in the room. Leadership is not about ego or appearances. It is about presence, clarity, composure, and the ability to make informed decisions under pressure. The young woman had demonstrated this perfectly. Her calm yet commanding influence had transformed a tense, high-pressure situation into a learning opportunity and a success. Everyone had followed her naturally, inspired not by rank alone, but by her expertise, judgment, and steady demeanor. After the mission, the SEAL approached her again, this time with a renewed respect. He acknowledged how she had guided the team and kept everyone focused despite the pressure. He realized that moments like these, when calm, clear, and decisive leadership can make the difference between success and failure, were the true test of a leader's capabilities. And she had passed with flying colors. By the end of the day, it was clear that her ability to manage high-pressure situations had earned her even more respect from the SEAL and the entire team. She had shown that true leadership is a combination of skill, composure, strategic thinking, and the ability to inspire confidence. The SEAL, humbled by the experience, now fully appreciated her talent, realizing that he had much to learn from her example. The young woman, calm and composed as ever, had proven her abilities beyond doubt. She wasn't just a highly ranked officer. She was a natural leader whose presence elevated everyone around her. The SEAL had been challenged, inspired, and transformed by her guidance. And for the team, the mission had become not just a success but a lesson in what true leadership looks like. Quiet, confident, and incredibly effective. By the time the high-pressure mission exercise had concluded, word of her competence had begun to spread quietly throughout the ranks. Everyone in the room, from the newest recruit to the most seasoned officers, had witnessed her exceptional leadership and calm command. The SEAL, who had first approached the day with a playful attitude, now reflected deeply on what he had seen. He realized that his initial assumptions had been completely wrong, and the experience had given him a fresh perspective on leadership and respect. He thought back to the moment he had jokingly asked her rank, expecting a casual answer and a laugh. At the time, he hadn't anticipated the quiet intensity and authority that would follow. The realization that he had misjudged her was both humbling and enlightening. It was a lesson he would carry with him. Never underestimate someone based on appearances, assumptions, or stereotypes. Leadership, he now understood, is revealed through action, consistency, and presence, not by how someone looks, talks, or even behaves in casual moments. As others in the room began discussing the exercises, it became clear that the young woman had left a lasting impression. Colleagues whispered about the precise way she had guided the team through challenges, noting her calm decisiveness and her ability to inspire confidence under pressure. Even those who had doubted her skills at first were now forced to acknowledge her capabilities. It was a subtle transformation in the room's dynamic. Respect had replaced skepticism, admiration had replaced doubt. People began to see her not just as a high-ranking officer, but as a natural leader whose presence could elevate everyone around her. The SEAL observed all of this quietly, reflecting on how rare it was to witness leadership that was so effective yet so understated. He had faced many challenging situations in his career, but few leaders had commanded respect without needing to assert it overtly. Her ability to influence the team through skill, calm authority, and strategic thinking was remarkable. She had created an environment where people wanted to perform their best, not out of fear or obligation, but out of trust and confidence. The SEAL realized that this was a defining trait of truly exceptional leadership. The turning point for him came when he noticed how her team responded to her guidance. During the exercises, she had consistently empowered individuals, allowing them to take initiative while still maintaining overall control of the mission. Team members who had been hesitant or unsure began to act with confidence, trusting her judgment and following her lead without hesitation. The SEAL understood that this was a sign of genuine respect, earned not through intimidation, but through competence, clarity, and consistency. He also reflected on the subtle lessons she had taught him throughout the day. Leadership is not about dominating a room or asserting rank. It's about observing carefully, understanding the strengths and weaknesses of your team, and guiding them effectively. It's about staying composed under pressure and making decisions that inspire trust. It's about humility, patience, and the willingness to mentor others without seeking recognition. All of these qualities had been displayed effortlessly by the young woman, and the seal couldn't help but feel that he had been given a rare opportunity to learn from her example. As the day drew to a close, the seal noticed that the atmosphere in the room had shifted permanently. The team had become more cohesive, more confident, and more motivated. Her influence was evident in the way people interacted with one another, the way they executed tasks, and the quiet energy that now filled the space. Where there had once been doubt and casual assumptions, there was now respect and awareness. The seal felt a deep sense of gratitude for the experience. He had come expecting a simple day of exercises, and instead, he had witnessed a masterclass in leadership, resilience, and mentorship. He approached her once again, this time with a mixture of respect and curiosity. He wanted to acknowledge her achievements, but more importantly, he wanted to understand the mindset that had enabled her to excel in such high-pressure situations. She spoke candidly, explaining that her calm demeanor and strategic thinking were the result of years of training, experience, and deliberate practice. She emphasized that leadership was a continuous learning process, requiring observation, patience, and the willingness to adapt to every situation. Her words resonated deeply with the seal, reinforcing the lessons he had already observed firsthand. By the end of the day, it was clear that the young woman had not only earned the respect of the seal and her peers, but she had also left a lasting impression on everyone present. The initial joke about her rank had become a turning point, revealing far more than a title. It revealed the essence of true leadership. Her calm authority, strategic mindset, and ability to inspire confidence had transformed assumptions into admiration and doubt into respect. The seal, now fully aware of her capabilities, understood that he had much to learn from her approach. The experience also served as a broader lesson for everyone in the room. Assumptions, casual jokes, and first impressions can be misleading. True leadership is demonstrated through competence, consistency, composure, and the ability to inspire trust and confidence in others. The young woman had exemplified all of these qualities, showing that real authority is not about appearances but about action, skill, and presence. By the time the briefing ended, the seal and the team had internalized this lesson deeply, carrying it with them as an example of what it truly means to lead. In the end, the young woman had achieved more than completing exercises or demonstrating tactical skill. She had challenged assumptions, earned respect, and taught invaluable lessons in leadership, mentorship, and perception. The seal, once casual and joking, now recognized her as a peer, a mentor, and an inspiration. Her calm and confident presence had transformed the room, leaving everyone with a newfound understanding of what true leadership looks like: quiet, composed, and immensely powerful. By the end of the day, the room had completely transformed from the tense, uncertain atmosphere of the morning. What had started as a playful interaction, a Navy SEAL jokingly asking about her rank, had turned into a profound lesson in respect, leadership, and perception. The young woman, calm and composed, had not only demonstrated her skill but also shown the true meaning of authority. Every person present had been quietly observing, learning, and internalizing the lessons she had provided through her actions, presence, and guidance. The seal, who had walked in with a smirk and an assumption, now stood with a deep sense of respect and reflection. He had witnessed firsthand the power of calm authority, strategic thinking, and consistent competence. The initial joke had been harmless in his mind, but it had revealed more than he could have anticipated. In one quiet gesture, the rolling up of her sleeve, she had shown not just her rank but the weight of her experience, the depth of her skill, and the quiet power of true leadership. Colleagues and team members who had doubted her abilities or underestimated her presence were now openly acknowledging her expertise. Some approached her to ask questions. Others simply watched in admiration as she explained strategies or gave advice. Her influence was not based on intimidation or assertiveness, but on the trust and confidence she inspired. Every action she took reinforced the understanding that she had earned her place, her rank, and the respect that came with it. Not through words, but but through years of dedication, training, and real-world experience. The SEAL reflected on how rare it was to encounter such a leader. Throughout his career, he had trained with countless officers, faced high-pressure situations, and observed many different leadership styles. Yet few had the combination of competence, humility, and calm authority that this young woman exhibited. She didn't need to command attention or demand respect. It was naturally given because of the way she handled herself and those around her. Her quiet confidence made the room feel steadier, more focused, and more effective. The young woman's impact extended far beyond tactical expertise. She had demonstrated the importance of emotional intelligence, the ability to remain composed under pressure, and the value of empowering others. During the exercises, she had guided her team with precision, giving each member the confidence to perform their roles effectively. Even when mistakes occurred, she corrected them with patience and clarity, turning challenges into lessons rather than sources of blame. This approach created an environment where people felt motivated, capable, and respected. The SEAL thought about the lessons he had learned from her. Leadership is not measured by titles, appearances, or loud declarations. It is shown through actions, judgment, and the ability to inspire confidence in others. Respect is earned through consistency, competence, and the willingness to mentor and guide, rather than through force or ego. These were lessons that applied not only in the military but in every aspect of life where teamwork, strategy, and trust mattered. As the briefing ended and the room began to empty, the SEAL approached her one last time. He acknowledged the impact she had made, not just in the exercises, but in changing perceptions and inspiring those around her. She received his recognition with a quiet nod, unassuming yet confident, demonstrating once more that true leaders do not seek validation. It naturally comes to them through their actions. Team members lingered, sharing what they had learned and discussing how her guidance had helped them perform better. The SEAL noticed that even the most skeptical individuals had gained a newfound respect for her, inspired by the way she had combined knowledge, composure, and mentorship. Her influence would extend far beyond that single day, shaping how the team approached challenges, worked together, and respected leadership in the future. The SEAL, reflecting on the entire experience, realized that the young woman had achieved something far more important than completing exercises or showing skill in a mission. She had demonstrated the essence of true leadership: quiet confidence, competence, empathy, strategic thinking, and the ability to inspire trust. She had challenged assumptions, transformed perceptions, and reminded everyone that appearances can be deceiving. A joke meant to amuse had become a lesson in humility, respect, and the power of skill over assumption. For the young woman, the day ended as it had begun. Calmly, with focus, and without seeking attention. Her actions had spoken louder than words, and her influence had left a lasting mark on everyone present. She had proven that true leadership is not about being the loudest or the most visible. It is about being prepared, confident, and composed, ready to act when it matters most. Her rolled-up sleeve had revealed more than rank. It had revealed character, capability, and the quiet authority that comes from experience. As the team dispersed, the SEAL took one last look around the room. He felt grateful for the experience, humbled by the lessons he had learned, and inspired to carry them forward. The young woman had shown him and everyone else that respect is earned, that leadership is demonstrated through action, and that true strength often lies in calm, confident presence rather than loud gestures or assumptions. The day had started with a joke, but it ended with wisdom, a reminder that sometimes the smallest gestures reveal the greatest truths. And in that quiet, unassuming way, she had left an indelible impression on the SEAL, the team, and everyone who had witnessed her skill and authority. Her calm, confident presence would be remembered as an example of what real leadership looks like: earned, respected, and quietly powerful.